The kunai is already in the air when Zabuza realizes the blonde brat has turned the whole fight inside out. A second ago, it looks like one more desperate throw, one more Jinin mistake, one more loud failure from a boy in orange who should never have survived this long against a missing nin of the mist. Then the spinning windmill shuriken bursts apart in white smoke, and Uzumaki Naruto comes out of it with a live blade in his hand and no hesitation in his body at all. That is the part that matters. Not the trick, not the timing, the willingness. Naruto lets himself be thrown at a swordsman who kills for a living. He does it to force a choice. Release Kakashi or die with a kunai in the skull. For a heartbeat, the whole battlefield narrows to that single pressure point. Zabuza can keep the water prison and lose his life, or save himself and lose control of the fight. He chooses survival. Kakashi drops free. Water crashes. The balance shifts. And from the trees, hidden behind a painted mask and years of discipline, Haku sees the truth before anyone says it out loud. The loudest one on the field is also the one willing to put himself closest to death. That changes everything. She tracks the next exchange from branch to branch, eyes narrowing as Kakashi drives forward and Zabuza starts losing ground. That part is more familiar. Skill against skill, water against water, a veteran from Kiri against a prodigy from Konoha. But the earlier moment does not leave her mind. Naruto should have broken. Any ordinary genin would have. He does not. He gambles his own body to save his teacher, and worse, he succeeds. It makes Zabuza's defeat feel less like bad luck and more like an omen. That is why Haku moves when she does. Senbon flashed through the air. 2 needles, 1 neck. Precise enough to stop the body without ending it. Zabuza drops, and Kakashi freezes over him with a killer's caution that says he does not trust easy answers. Haku lands in front of them wearing the mask of a Kiri hunter nin and the voice of a stranger. Flat, controlled, useful. She thanks Kakashi for weakening the target. She claims jurisdiction. She claims duty. She claims the corpse. Kakashi listens, but he also measures. He asks why Kiri would send an Oinin this far when the bloody mist is tearing itself apart. He asks what matters enough to justify the risk. He looks relaxed. He is not. Haku can see the spring still wound inside him, so she gives him a reason that sounds true because part of it is Kubikirabocho, Zabuza's sword, a weapon important enough to drag politics into the open, important enough to explain why a hidden village would reach across water and blood to reclaim one of its legends. The answer works. It buys space, not trust, space. Then Naruto stomps into that fragile calm like he was born to destroy subtlety. He points, he shouts, he demands answers before anyone else can shape the conversation. The energy coming off him is raw and unfinished, still hot from battle, still too honest to hide behind shinobi etiquette. Haku should find that dangerous. Instead, she finds it almost impossible not to watch him. He is loud because he feels everything at full volume. Kakashi calms him. Barely. Naruto keeps talking anyway, trying to understand how someone his age could take down a monster like Zabuza so easily. That question matters more than he knows. It reveals what he measures strength against. Not rank, not reputation, distance. If someone looks young, Naruto expects them to be reachable. Be able, human. Haku answers before Kakashi can. Maybe to redirect the moment. Maybe because she wants to. She tells Naruto what she saw. That his actions mattered. That not many shinobi would willingly put themselves in the path of a superior enemy just to free a comrade. The reaction is immediate. His face heats, his hand rises to scratch his cheek. His grin turns awkward, then bright, then awkward again. He looks like no one tells him things like that. No one gives him praise cleanly, without a hook hidden inside it. So when it reaches him, it lands harder than it should. That matters too. Haku keeps her tone light and tells him to learn water walking before facing someone like Zabuza again. Kakashi groans under his mask. Another small revelation, another fracture in the picture. This boy threw himself at a killer before mastering basic chakra control. That should make the earlier stunt less impressive. Somehow it does the opposite. Because now it is not just brave. It is absurd. And absurd people change stories. She retrieves Zabuza's body and vanishes into the forest. But the farther she gets from the shoreline, the less the mission feels finished. The laughter hits her before she understands why. It starts as a breath. Then a tremor. Then a full, helpless burst when she spots the training marks cut into a tree and realizes what they mean. Naruto outsmarted Momochi Zabuza before he could even complete the tree climbing exercise. A genin who cannot properly stick to bark forced one of the 7 swordsmen's former elite to break formation and lose the fight. It is humiliating for Zabuza. It is hilarious for Haku. It is also, in a way she does not like admitting, impressive enough to stay with her. By the time she reaches their shelter, Zabuza is awake and irritable, exactly as expected. He removes the senbon with all the grace of a man trying to prove near death is an inconvenience. Haku checks the wounds, ignores the bravado, and gives him the report. Kakashi bought the lie. The sword drew attention. The blonde genin interrupted at the wrong time. Zabuza only cares about one detail. The boy. At first, it sounds like mockery. Then strategy. Then something colder. Naruto spends time around the Hokage. Naruto is useful. Naruto could become leverage. Or a bridge. Or a path into Konoha if the current road collapses beneath them. Zabuza speaks like a mercenary because that is what survival has made him. But beneath it, there is another calculation. He is cornered. Gatsu is unreliable. Kiri is worse. The future is shrinking. Then he asks Haku what she thought of Naruto physically. That is the pivot. Not because it is romantic, because it turns Naruto from battlefield variable into personal target. Haku sees the plan instantly and hates it instantly. Zabuza, who has raised her through blood and exile and the kind of loyalty built in ruined places, now wants her to get close to the boy. Charm him. Draw him in. Build a bond that can be used later when politics or blackmail or sanctuary demand it. He says boyfriend like a joke. He says it like a guardian trying to help. He says it like a strategist dressing a trap in domestic language. Haku slaps him for it. He deserves that much. But once the anger cools, the thought refuses to disappear. Not because the plan is clean. It is not. Not because Naruto is a mark. He does not feel like one. The problem is worse than that. The plan has one dangerous advantage. It might actually work. The next day proves it. Haku enters the herb clearing, expecting quiet, and finds evidence of chaos instead. Kunai in bark. Wire in branches. Dirt torn up by failed attempts and repeated effort. Whoever trained here did real damage everywhere except the herb patch itself. That means discipline inside recklessness. Care inside noise. Another contradiction. Then she hears the muttering. Ramen first. Dreams second. Sleep taking the place of common sense. She rounds the tree and finds Naruto slumped against it, asleep in the middle of his own exhaustion. Whisker-marked face tilted toward the sky like he fought the forest all night and forgot the final step was going home. For one stunned second, the whole situation feels unreal enough to invite superstition. Zabuza wants her to get close to Naruto, and the boy is simply here, alone, vulnerable, delivered by chance into the exact place she has to visit. When he wakes, he looks at her like he has made a mistake in the right direction. She introduces herself as Yuki Haku, aspiring doctor. He blurts out that she is beautiful before his caution can catch up with his mouth. That makes him suspicious of himself, then embarrassed, then louder to compensate. He gives his full name and his future title in the same breath, as if declaring ambition makes it safer to carry. Uzumaki Naruto, future Hokage of Konohagakure. A ridiculous claim from a tired genin in a torn orange jacket, and yet he says it with such total conviction that Haku does not laugh. Instead, she asks why he wants strength. The question cuts through the flirting, through the awkwardness, through the bright noise he uses to protect himself. Naruto pauses. Really pauses. And when the answer comes, it is not glory. He wants to protect his sensei, his teammates, the people precious to him. That is the moment Haku stops looking at him as a task and starts looking at him as a danger to her own composure. Because that answer is real, because she believes it. Because people who gain strength for others are the hardest to move once they choose a side. So she smiles, accepts the warmth building between them, and lets the conversation turn softer. He calls her Haku-chan without realizing what that means. He panics. She teases him. He sinks deeper into embarrassment, and somehow that only makes him easier to trust. Not safe. Just honest in a world where honesty usually dies first. Then she offers him her hand and asks for help gathering herbs. He takes it immediately. No suspicion, no bargain, no hidden angle. Just yes. And by the time the basket is full and the morning has shifted into something neither of them quite knows how to name, they have crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. Naruto thinks he has met a kind girl in the forest. Haku knows she has met the boy Zabuza wants to use. Both are true. That is what makes it dangerous. When they part, it is not with closure. It is with momentum. They agree to meet again tomorrow. Naruto carries that momentum back to Tezuna's house like he is trying and failing to hide sunlight under his jacket. The problem is that Kakashi notices everything worth noticing. By the time Naruto reaches the table, breakfast is already underway. Tsunami is serving rice and fish. Sakura looks rested. Sasuke looks bored in the way he only ever does when he's actually paying very close attention. Kakashi is half buried in his little orange book, which means he is paying the most attention of all. Naruto sits. Tsunami smiles and brings him a plate. For one brief second, it almost feels normal. A mission meal. A quiet house. One fragile pocket of calm before they go back to climbing trees and pretending the last few days did not nearly get them killed. Then Kakashi asks how training went. It is an innocent question delivered in the laziest tone possible. That is exactly why it is dangerous. Naruto answers too fast, says he used shadow clones to speed things up, and tries to sound casual. Sakura immediately leans into the weakness. She repeats the word training with just enough stress to make it clear she smells something strange. Sasuke hides his reaction behind silence, which is how Naruto knows the bastard definitely knows something. Kakashi lets the pressure build for another beat, then drops the knife in with a smile in his voice. A ninja and a doctor meeting alone in the forest. That is all he says. He does not need more. Naruto nearly chokes. Sakura recoils. Inari makes a face. Tsunami has to smack Naruto on the back to keep breakfast from killing him before any enemy can. The room erupts just enough to expose what matters. Kakashi was watching. Sasuke was watching too. Naruto's private meeting is not private anymore. The secret lasts less than half a day. That is the first reveal. The second lands harder because it comes without anyone in the room understanding its full weight. While Naruto scrambles for a defense, and Kakashi enjoys every second of it, somewhere else on the island, Gato receives word from Kirigakure. The Mizukage is interested, not vaguely, not politically, personally interested enough to send an agent in 10 days. That reframes the entire situation. Until now, the Wade mission looks local on the surface. A bridge builder, a crime boss, a rogue swordsman hiding in the fog between contracts. Ugly, but manageable. Now another force enters the board. Kirigakure does not merely want Zabuza dead, it wants something back. The sword, the prestige, the proof that no one carries a relic of the bloody mist without eventually answering for it. And if that agent reaches Wave before Zabuza can move, then Zabuza stops being a threat in exile and becomes a corpse with diplomatic value. The pressure clock starts there. 10 days, not enough for comfort, barely enough for plans. Zabuza feels that pressure before anyone says the number out loud. He does not have the message yet, but he knows men like Gato. He knows greed always makes two deals when it can profit from one. So while Naruto is burning red at the breakfast table, Zabuza is in bed with bitter medicine on his tongue and the future narrowing around him. Haku returns to him with herbs and a changed expression. That is what he notices first. Not the basket, not the success. The expression. She says Naruto helped her gather the herbs. She says it lightly, but then the slip comes. Naruto-kun. A soft suffix attached to a name that should have stayed tactical. Zabuza reacts with the kind of overprotective violence that would be ridiculous if it were not genuine. He demands details. He jumps straight to threat. If the boy touched you, I will kill him. Haku slaps him again. That is the transformative turn inside their relationship. Until now, the plan is theoretical. Manipulative, yes, but still abstract. Once Haku strikes him for saying it out loud, both of them are forced to confront the truth. Naruto is no longer just a useful possibility. He is becoming emotionally expensive. Zabuza recovers fast because he has to. He asks what happened. Haku tells him enough to matter. Naruto was training. Naruto was exhausted. Naruto was kind. Naruto agreed to meet her again tomorrow. That final detail changes Zabuza's entire posture. Hope enters the room like a knife sliding under a locked door. He starts talking about sanctuary in Konoha as if it is suddenly reachable. Not guaranteed. Reachable. It is a desperate man's vision, but not a stupid one. Konoha values bloodlines. Konoha values defectors when they arrive with leverage. Haku is a rare talent. Zabuza is dangerous but useful. Kubikiribocho alone is worth a negotiation. And Naruto, if he truly has the ear of the Hokage, could become the thread that stitches all of it together. Haku pushes back. Too soon. Too uncertain. Too many things still depend on a boy who does not know he is standing at the center of a political trap. Zabuza waves it away with dangerous confidence. He says it feels like destiny. Haku, still half-dazed by how cleanly chance has arranged this, asks if he is clairvoyant. He is not. But the illusion matters, because once people start mistaking coincidence for fate, they make bolder choices than reason alone would allow. Naruto spends the rest of that day inside a different kind of trap. Kakashi does not interrogate him directly. That would let Naruto defend himself. Instead, he needles. He watches. He lets Sakura do what Sakura does best when something smells romantic and humiliating. By the end of breakfast, everyone understands that Naruto met a girl in the forest. No one yet understands that the girl is tied to the enemy they fought on the lake. That is the third reveal waiting in the walls. Sasuke comes closest to it first. He is the only one who saw enough to connect behavior to risk. He does not care about romance. He cares that Naruto, the dead last idiot, is suddenly smiling to himself after disappearing alone during a mission where an unknown accomplice already interfered once. Sasuke does not need the full answer to know the pattern is wrong. So he watches harder, quietly, without announcing himself. That matters because Kakashi works through visible pressure, while Sasuke works through silent observation. Two competing perspectives, both focused on Naruto, both pulling for different outcomes. Kakashi wants information and control. Sasuke wants proof. Naruto wants neither. He wants tomorrow to arrive faster. It does. When he gets back to the clearing, he comes in with too much energy and too little subtlety. Haku is already there, waiting with the picnic basket and enough care in her appearance to tell the truth before either of them says it. Neither names this a date. Both feel the shape of one. The opening moments are easy. That is what makes them dangerous. Teasing, smiles, the small clumsy rhythm of two people who want to keep talking after they run out of safe subjects. Naruto feels silence because silence makes him nervous. Haku guides silence because silence makes other people talk. So he talks. He talks about training, about becoming stronger, about wanting to stand beside his team instead of behind them, about the humiliation of nearly losing Kakashi and realizing effort alone is not enough. Every word gives Haku a clearer map of him, and every answer makes the problem worse. Naruto is not flirting to manipulate. He is not boasting to impress. He is trying, in the simplest way he knows, to be seen accurately. That is rare enough to feel intimate. Haku meets him there, but only part way. She gives him truths wrapped in softer lies. She speaks of herbs, of healing, of the belief that people become strongest when protecting someone precious. That last part is not a tactic. It comes from the oldest wound she carries. Naruto hears it and accepts it instantly because it matches something already alive inside him. Their values align before their loyalties do. That is the fourth reveal, and it is the one with the longest shadow. Because once Haku recognizes herself in Naruto's answer, the mission becomes unstable. She can still proceed, she can still gather information, she can still help Zabuza survive. But every step from here forward comes with a cost she did not have to pay before. Every meeting increases that cost. Every smile makes betrayal heavier. Every kindness narrows the space between strategy and sincerity. Naruto, of course, has no language for any of that. He just knows he likes being around her. He likes the way she listens without mocking him. He likes that she teases him without cruelty. He likes that when he says something earnest, she treats it like something valuable instead of something childish. So here's the question. What happens when the first person to see your heart clearly is standing on the wrong side of the battlefield? Naruto does not ask that out loud. He's not there yet. But the story is. Because elsewhere, storm clouds are gathering over Kirigakure. In a dark office, the Mizukage gives his order. Recover the blade in 10 days. Do not fail. Lightning flashes. A masked agent waits in silence and answers with laughter edged in madness. And in Wave, without hearing any of it, Naruto and Haku agree to meet again. Not as enemies, not as allies, as something far more unstable. Two people walking willingly toward the point where affection and consequence are about to collide. By the next afternoon, that collision already has a witness. Haku waits in the clearing with a picnic basket at her feet and a level of care in her appearance that tells its own story. Subtle makeup, a better kimono. Small choices that do not matter in battle and therefore matter here. She tells herself it is caution. Presentation. Another layer of the plan. But that explanation weakens the second Naruto arrives and looks at her like the forest has just done him a personal favor. He forgets to speak for half a beat. That is how Haku knows the effort worked. The rest comes easily after that. Too easily. They talk while walking, they sit while pretending not to notice how close they have chosen to sit. Naruto fills the air with stories of training, of ramen, of village life, of his dreams spoken with such open certainty that it stops sounding childish and starts sounding inevitable. Haku answers with softer things, pieces of herself trimmed into safer shapes. Enough truth to build trust. Enough omission to keep the trap from snapping shut too early. That balancing act gets harder every minute. Because Naruto is not trying to impress her in the polished way older men do. He is not performing mystery. He is not calculating charm. He is just there, fully there, saying what he means and meaning it before he has time to protect himself from it. Haku has spent years around killers, liars, missing nin, and clients who smile with poison in their teeth. Compared to that, Naruto feels almost reckless in his honesty, which makes him dangerous in an entirely different way. He asks questions no spy would ask because no spy would risk sounding foolish. What herbs help with fever? Whether doctors ever get scared? Why she likes the forest? Whether she thinks people can choose who they become or if they only discover it too late? The questions stumble out of him in odd order, but each one reaches for something real. Haku finds herself answering more than she should. And when she laughs, she realizes a second too late that the sound is unforced. That is the first real shift. Not attraction, not yet. Permission. Permission to enjoy him. Naruto notices it too, though not consciously. He only knows that each time he says something ridiculous, Haku does not laugh at him the way the village usually would. She laughs with warmth instead of judgment. The difference hits him deeper than flirting ever could. He starts leaning into it. More stories. More expressions. More of that bright, impulsive energy he uses like a torch against every dark room life keeps putting him in. Haku listens and thinks, this is how people get attached by accident. Then Naruto ruins any chance of distance by trying to help with lunch. He insists, she resists, he insists harder. The result is a small disaster of chopped ingredients, uneven portions, and one near-spilled container that Haku saves at the last possible second. Naruto apologizes so earnestly that it circles back around to endearing. Haku calls him hopeless. Naruto says hopeless people do not become Hokage. Haku asks if every sentence he says has to end in that dream. Naruto answers yes, because if he stops saying it, other people might decide it was never possible. That answer lands like evidence, not because of the ambition, because of what sits underneath it. Naruto does not repeat his dream to convince the world. He repeats it because the world has spent too long trying to convince him otherwise. Haku feels that one in places she does not like revisiting. So she shifts the conversation and asks what he would do first if he became Hokage, not what title he wants, not what power he imagines, what he would do. Naruto answers without hesitation. He would make sure people stop looking at each other like monsters before they know who they are. The words are simple, the meaning is not. For a second, the clearing changes shape around Haku, her mother, the snow, the fear in grown faces. The old lesson she learned too young. Some people decide what you are the moment they see the sign they hate. Naruto, impossibly, has reached straight into the oldest scar she carries without knowing it exists. That is the second shift. He is no longer just pleasant. He is understood. The silence after that is softer than before, not awkward, loaded. Haku can feel the line in front of her. Cross it, and this becomes more than a mission. Refuse to cross it, and she will spend the rest of the day lying to herself about why disappointment feels so sharp. Naruto looks at her, suddenly less sure of himself than usual. Maybe because he senses the change without understanding it. Maybe because some part of him knows this is the first quiet moment that actually matters. He tells her she has beautiful eyes. No blurting this time, no accidental compliment. He says it carefully, like he wants the words to survive the distance between them intact. Haku should redirect. She should laugh. She should use the moment, steer it, turn his sincerity into leverage the way Zabuza intended. Instead, she leans in and kisses his cheek. It is brief, light, enough to transform everything. Naruto freezes so completely he may as well have been hit by a paralysis seal. His whole face goes red at once, his mouth opens, nothing comes out. Then too much almost comes out, and he clamps down on the flood before it can drown him in his own embarrassment. Haku has to look away for one fatal second because if she watches him directly, she will laugh too hard to recover the tone. That is the diamond scene. Not because of the kiss itself, because of what it changes. Before this, Zabuza has a plan, and Haku has doubts. After this, Haku has committed an act she cannot honestly file under strategy anymore. She can tell herself it serves the mission. She can even make the argument sound convincing, but the truth is already moving underneath it. She wanted to know what it would feel like. Now she does. And somewhere above them, hidden in leaves and shadow, Sasuke sees enough to understand one thing clearly. The dope has not stumbled into random trouble. He has formed a connection. Sasuke does not see the whole picture. He sees something more useful than that. Pattern, timing, emotional compromise during an active mission against an enemy with at least one unidentified accomplice. To Sasuke, that translates into risk. He slips away without announcing himself, heading back with the kind of efficient silence that usually means somebody else's life is about to get more complicated. Naruto's certainly is. At Tezuna's house, Kakashi receives the report with more amusement than concern, which tells Sasuke exactly how little his sensei understands the scale of what may be happening. Or perhaps how much Kakashi trusts his own ability to manage it later. Neither possibility is comforting. Kakashi hears there is a girl, hears there was a meeting, hears there may have been a kiss. His first instinct is not tactical, it is literary. He starts imagining notes, details, material. That reaction says something ugly and useful at once. Kakashi is relaxed because he still thinks the story is small. Sakura nearly attacks Naruto the second he comes home that evening. Not physically, socially. She sees the grin he cannot suppress and immediately senses scandal. Gossip lights up behind her eyes. For a brief moment, Naruto is less a teammate and more a source. Kakashi stops her with a hand on her shoulder and tells her to let him bask for now. That line saves Naruto from interrogation, but not from observation. Everyone at that dinner knows something happened. Naruto tries to act normal and fails so badly it becomes almost admirable. He smiles into his food. He drifts out of conversations and then comes back late. He protects the memory by sheer incompetence, which somehow works because nobody expects subtlety from him anyway. Sakura is annoyed, Kakashi is entertained, Sasuke is thoughtful, Naruto is doomed. Meanwhile, across the island, Haku returns to Zabuza carrying the glow of someone who can no longer hide from herself. Zabuza notices before she speaks. He asks if something good happened. Haku nods. He pushes. She hesitates for just long enough to prove the answer matters. Then she says it plainly. She will go through with the plan. The words sound strategic. The look on her face does not. Zabuza hears victory, sanctuary, escape. A route out of exile with Konoha as destination and Naruto as bridge. He starts projecting forward immediately because that is what desperate men do when a single opening appears in a wall that has been closing around them for years. Haku is not looking that far ahead. She is looking at the cost. Because now the lie has a heartbeat inside it. Naruto is not just useful. He is kind. He is earnest. He is starting to matter. And the first time she brings him near Zabuza, the first time truths begin colliding with half-truths, the fragile world they built in the clearing is going to break one way or another. Still, she makes the choice, not just to continue, to win him. And when Zabuza says that tomorrow everything will change, he means it as a strategist standing at the edge of a new board. He does not yet understand that Haku means it as a girl who has already stepped too far in to come out unchanged. The next meeting begins like a promise and moves like a setup. Haku is waiting with a picnic basket and careful eyes when Naruto arrives, and whatever hesitation remained between them is gone in the first few steps. The forest has already done the hard work for them. It has stripped away spectators, village pressure, rank, and mission structure. Out here, Naruto is not the dead last. Haku is not the masked accomplice. They are simply the two people who keep choosing to come back. That choice is becoming its own kind of confession. They spend the afternoon in the easiest rhythm they have found yet. Food, teasing, small stories. Haku asks about ninja reports, and Naruto complains about the misery of paperwork like he is describing torture disguised as literacy. Haku laughs. Naruto leans into the reaction and exaggerates just enough to keep her smiling. It is a harmless exchange on the surface. Underneath it, another pressure is building, because every minute they spend together raises the same question. How long can this continue before the lie beneath it has to reveal its shape? Haku reaches that point first. She has spent 2 meetings letting the bond form naturally, but natural is no longer enough. Zabuza needs a path forward. Kiri is moving. Gato is unstable. Kakashi is observant. If Naruto is going to become the bridge between worlds, then the private forest version of this relationship has to become something declared. Something that can survive contact with the rest of reality. So Haku tests the next step by dressing it as a tease. She mentions Konoha, not casually, deliberately. She says she and her guardian would like a real home. She says she cannot imagine a better place than Naruto's village. Then she adds the blade between the ribs while smiling sweetly enough to make it sound harmless. After all, is she not dating the future Hokage? Naruto stops functioning for a full second, not because he dislikes the idea. Because it forces him to define what he has been pretending not to define. Flirting is one thing, secret meetings are one thing, a kiss on the cheek is one thing. Dating is a word. A word means shape. A word means responsibility. A word means what happens next is no longer just possibility drifting around in a pretty clearing. Haku sees the panic hit and turns away as if wounded. It is a performance. It is also not entirely a performance. She asks, with just enough hurt in her voice to close the trap, whether he plans to string her along. Naruto grabs her shoulders and turns her back to him so fast the answer arrives before thought can interfere. He would love to date her. That is the transformative turn of the part. Because now, the private tension between them has become an explicit bond. Not implied, not speculative, chosen. Naruto chooses it with his whole chest, exactly the way he chooses everything that matters to him. No games, no hedge words. No careful male pride trying to preserve an exit. Just yes. And once he says yes, Haku moves immediately. She cheers, throws her arms around him, and tells him her guardian is waiting. Naruto does not understand the danger hidden in that sentence until he is already being dragged toward it. Above them, Kakashi's shadow clone follows through the trees and reaches the conclusion the real Kakashi has been circling all day. The girl is not random. The emotional pattern is too fast, the setting too convenient, the secrecy too neat. He wants the Sharingan, he wants certainty. What he has instead is a growing sense that Naruto has walked into something larger than adolescent stupidity. That matters because the clone is not the only hunter moving through the branches. Elsewhere, Jiraiya is approaching Wave with his own set of concerns and none of the context needed to make them comfortable. He is already suspicious, already irritated, already connecting Gaio's local corruption to something wider and more dangerous. Then the report hits. A scout toad confirms what the mission never openly advertised. Gatsu is dealing with Kirigakure. That changes the board instantly. The Wave mission is no longer just a low-ranked protection job gone bad. It is now a border problem with hidden village implications. Kiri wants reach. Gatsu wants profit. Zabuza is in the middle. And if the current Mizukage establishes influence this close to the Land of Fire's coast, then the political cost reaches far beyond one bridge. Jiraiya pivots at once. The man who seemed to be wandering into a client check-in is suddenly a war-tested shinobi following a chain of consequence at full speed. He orders the scout to locate Gate 2's main base. He races for Tezuna's house. The daylight thins around him, turning the path long and orange, and in that narrowing light, every unresolved thread starts tightening at once. Naruto knows none of this while Haku drags him towards Zabuza's hideout. He knows only that he has a girlfriend now. The word is still too new in his head to sit still. It keeps colliding with everything else he thinks he knows about himself. Naruto, who gets glared at, shoved aside, underestimated, tolerated at best, now has a girl holding his hand and pulling him toward her world as if that is the most natural thing on earth. That joy is real. So is the dread underneath it. Because the building waiting ahead does not look like the home of an herbalist and a harmless guardian. It hangs in the trees like a threat designed by someone with theatrical instincts and poor social skills. Naruto sees it, and all his prankster senses start screaming at once. Haku says her guardian works in private security. Naruto stares at the structure and decides there is no version of private security that explains this much menace suspended over the forest floor. He asks her, half joking and half serious, if she is trying to kill him. She is offended. Genuinely. That is the tragic part. Haku would never kill him. She might be leading him into the radius of someone who could. She might be placing him at the center of a political gamble he does not yet understand. But the one thing she does not want is his death. Then Zabuza speaks from behind him. The effect is immediate. Naruto stiffens. The atmosphere fractures. The warm, private space of the clearing disappears in one rasped sentence. Before Naruto can turn properly, a massive hand catches him by the back of the neck and lifts him off the ground. The moment is half abduction, half introduction, entirely on brand for Zabuza. And just like that, the worlds collide. Kakashi's clone sees the face, sees the grip, sees the impossible truth. Zabuza is alive. That is the reveal that detonates all prior assumptions at once. The fake death, the oinen, the meetings, the girl. Naruto's new relationship. Every strange beat of the last few days now snaps into place around a center Kakashi did not want to find. The enemy survived. His accomplice infiltrated Naruto's trust, and the genin most likely to stumble into an emotional disaster has done exactly that in the middle of an active mission. But there is one more force entering before anyone can stabilize the situation. Mist begins to roll around the hideout. A tall figure emerges from the trees, masked in madness and carrying the weight of Kirigakure's intent with him. Another swordsman, another hunter, another answer to the question everyone should have feared from the start. Kiri did not forget Kubikiri Bocho. And as one infiltrator slips toward the building and another closes from the forest, Naruto is hauled through the door of Zabuza's hideout with no idea that the girl he just agreed to date the enemy he thought was dead. Kakashi's hidden surveillance and Kirigakure's recovery operation have all arrived at the same point at the same time. Inside, Zabuza drops him to the floor and asks the only question that matters now. So, brat, you want to date Haku? Naruto's answer dies in his throat. A second ago, he is still trying to recover from being hauled through the doorway by the back of his neck. A second ago, this is only terror and confusion and the deeply unfair experience of meeting a girlfriend's guardian by getting treated like stolen produce. Then the room starts making sense in fragments, and each fragment makes things worse. Target dummies, weapons, the smell of steel and oil, the shape of the hideout itself. None of it belongs to an herbalist's quiet life. Then Haku moves, fast, too fast. Zabuza says one more threatening thing about killing Naruto, and Haku is across the room before the air can finish carrying the words. Ice crystals cling to her hand. Zabuza has a fresh lump rising on his head. Naruto does not fully understand what he just saw, only that it was violent, precise, and nothing like the soft warmth of the girl in the clearing. That is the first crack. Naruto stares at her with widened eyes. Haku notices immediately and softens at once, looping her arm through his as if she can guide the room back toward safety by force of closeness alone. Zabuza rubs his head and mutters that if Haku treats Naruto anything like she treats him, then the brat has his sympathy. Naruto, still running on instinct, blurts out the worst possible truth. Haku has never hit him. The whole room pauses. Zabuza looks personally offended by this information. Haku only smiles and says two words that explain more than Naruto can decode. Hisame-sensei. Whatever history sits behind that name, it leaves Zabuza abruptly uninterested in continuing that line of discussion. He resets, turns back to Naruto, and finally asks the question that has been hanging over every hidden meeting in half-truth since the lake. You want to know why you are here. You want to know why I am alive. Naruto nods, but his attention is no longer on Zabuza alone. It keeps flicking back toward Haku, to her hands, to the room, to the little details he ignored because he wanted her to be exactly who she said she was. Then his eyes land on one of the target dummies, two senbon buried in the neck, placed exactly where the Oinin's attack struck Zabuza on the shore. The whole illusion collapses at once. Naruto jerks away from Haku and points at her like the gesture can hold the world still long enough for it to explain itself. You were the hunter Nin, you were the one who took him down. But he said you were dead. But you said you were a doctor. But the words break apart because the truth is arriving faster than he can organize it. Zabuza does it for him. He tells Naruto to listen, and then for the first time he stops speaking like a mercenary, trying to manipulate a mark and starts speaking like a man who knows that if he chooses the wrong facts now, everything falls apart. He asks Naruto if he remembers what he said during the battle. About Kiri's graduation ceremony. About children killing children to become tools. Naruto remembers. He flinches before he can stop himself. Good, Zabuza says, because that was not even the worst of it. Then he gives Naruto the real history, not a lesson, an indictment, the bloodline purges, the fear. The madness of a country so soaked in civil war that people began treating inherited power like a curse that had to be exterminated. Bloodline holders hunted into extinction not because they were guilty, but because frightened people convinced themselves that if enough special children died, maybe history would calm down. It never did. Naruto asks why, with the raw disbelief of someone who still believes, cruelty should at least make sense if it is going to exist. Zabuza gives him the ugly answer. It was irrational, it was cowardly, it was real. Then he gestures to Haku. People like her were the ones they hunted first. The room changes around Naruto, not physically, morally. All at once Haku is standing in two forms inside his head. The girl in the clearing who laughed when he said something stupid. The hidden shinobi with senbon at her waist and ice in her palm. Those images are still colliding when a third arrives and cuts through both. Haku as prey. Haku as the kind of person a whole system decided should disappear. Naruto walks to her without thinking. He lifts her chin. Her eyes are empty in a way he recognizes instantly because he has seen that same dead look in mirrors after bad nights and worse mornings. The look of someone who learned too early that being alive and being wanted are not the same thing. He does the only thing he can think to do. He pulls her into his chest. That is the diamond scene. Not the reveal itself. The choice afterward. Naruto has every reason to recoil. He has been deceived. He has been led into an enemy hideout. The girl he likes has lied to him from the beginning. But the second he sees what those lies were protecting, his first instinct is not anger. It is shelter. Zabuza sees that and keeps talking, because now he knows he still has a path. He tells Naruto how he found Haku years earlier. No purpose, no future. Eyes already emptied out by a world that had decided what to do with people like her. He trained her, gave her a reason to keep moving. And for a while, that was enough. Then Yagura took power, and Kiri became worse than rumor could carry. Not just brutal, ritualized. Zabuza's voice roughens when he names Kushimaru, and the dissenters hung alive outside the Mizukage's office. Some of them children. Naruto regrets asking how bad it got the moment the answer starts taking shape. There are horrors people should never have enough detail to picture. Zabuza gives only enough to prove the point and then stops, which somehow makes it hit harder. Because what matters is not spectacle, it is system. This is the world Haku comes from. This is the world Zabuza rebelled against and failed to escape cleanly. Now the question shifts. Naruto can feel it happening. At first he wants to know what is going on. Now he wants to know why he was brought into it. Zabuza gives him that too. Konoha, sanctuary, a way out. He says the word like it is both strategy and prayer. Konoha values power. Konoha values bloodlines. Konoha is strong enough to shield defectors if the trade is worth the trouble. Haku is worth trouble. Zabuza knows it. Kubikiri Bocho is worth trouble too. And Naruto. Loud, reckless, absurd Naruto might be the one bridge into the Hokage's orbit that they can actually reach. That is when Naruto finally understands the scale of the manipulation. Haku did not meet him by accident. Not in spirit, even if chance arranged the first moment. Zabuza wanted him noticed, wanted him drawn in, wanted this bond to become useful. The sweetness of the forest now has teeth hidden inside it, and the realization tears through him in two directions at once. He feels betrayed. He still does not want to let Haku go. That contradiction is the transformative turn. Because now Naruto is forced into a choice, no genin should have to make this early. If he reduces the last few days to a trick, then he protects himself and loses the person inside them who felt most real. If he treats the emotion as real, then he has to accept that real feelings can grow in poisoned soil. He pulls back enough to look at Haku properly. Her face tells him everything Zabuza cannot. Shame, fear, hope she has no right to ask for. She does not defend herself immediately because there is no clean defense. She lied. She also cared. Those truths are trying to occupy the same expression and nearly breaking it apart. Naruto asks the only question that matters to him now. Was any of it real? Haku answers with the kind of honesty that comes too late to be safe and too early to be strategic. She says the beginning was not clean. She says Zabuza had a plan. She says she agreed to meet him because of that plan. Then she says the rest changed. He changed it. The laughter was real. The waiting was real. The kiss was real. The way she feels when he smiles at her is real enough to scare her. Naruto believes her because she sounds terrified of the answer herself. And that is when the hideout shudders. Not from emotion, from impact. Outside, steel screams against wood. A second later, killing intent rolls through the trees like fog soaked in blood. Everyone in the room goes still in a specific way. Only shinobi do when instinct outruns thought. Zabuza's hand closes around his sword. Haku's warmth banishes from her posture and becomes readiness. Naruto feels the conversation ripped away from him before he can decide what to do with it. Then comes the next reveal. Kiri has arrived, not rumor, not warning, arrival. The agent sent to recover Kubikiri Bocho has found them, and with him comes the proof that this story was never going to stay private long enough for feelings to sort themselves out. Naruto turns toward the doorway as another crash splits the night, and in that instant he understands one brutal thing with perfect clarity. He does not have time to decide whether Haku is enemy, ally, or something far more dangerous in between, because the village that tried to erase her has come to drag her back into the dark, and the next choice he makes is going to decide which side he is standing on when the door comes down. It does. The wood around the frame explodes inward in a spray of splinters and cold night air, and the man who steps through the breach does not bother pretending he came for anything except violence. He is tall, masked, and wrapped in the kind of stillness that only exists in people who have already decided. The room belongs to the dead. Mist slides in around his legs. Lightning flashes somewhere beyond the trees. For one brief instant, the white of the mask catches the light, and Naruto understands why some enemies feel wrong before they even move. This one feels like a message. Zabuza does not waste breath on introductions. His hand closes around Kubikiri Bocho, and the room changes from hideout to battlefield in the span of a heartbeat. The recovering mercenary who had been talking politics a second ago vanishes. In his place stands the demon of the mist, wounded but upright, too proud to kneel and too cornered to retreat. The Kiri agent laughs behind the mask and speaks with the delight of a man who has waited too long for sanctioned murder. Orders from the Mizukage: recover the blade, eliminate the traitor, dispose of witnesses, short sentences, clean priorities. The kind that turn people into categories before the killing starts. Naruto hears the word witnesses and feels the decision strike him before thought can dress it up as strategy. He is on Haku's side. Not because the lies do not matter. They do. Not because Zabuza is suddenly innocent. He is not. But because the force coming through that door carries the same logic Zabuza described minutes earlier. Bloodline, purge, erasure. The room is no longer asking Naruto whether he feels betrayed. It is asking whether betrayal justifies abandonment. His answer is no. The agent attacks first. Of course he does. Men like that believe permission and momentum are the same thing. Steel flashes toward Haku, not Naruto, not Zabuza. Haku, the bloodline, the softer target, the piece Kiri assumes will break fastest. He assumes wrong. Naruto moves before he can think better of it. A shadow clone bursting into existence to take the first hit wide while the real Naruto shoves Haku offline. Zabuza roars and swings Kubikiri Bocho in a murderous arc that forces the agent backward through the ruined doorway. Haku recovers instantly, Senbon already in hand, and for one burning second the three of them are no longer a fractured lie. They are a unit. That is what the invader fails to anticipate. He expects a wounded missing nin, a compromised bloodline user, and a genin caught in the wrong room. What he gets is coordinated chaos. Naruto's clones flood the floor and walls in orange blurs. Haku needles openings that barely exist and somehow widens them. Zabuza turns every half-step of space into a killing lane wide enough for his sword to own. The fight spills outside. Mist thickens across the clearing, but this time it does not belong to Zabuza alone. The Kiri agent floods the field with concealment, trying to turn the night into home ground. It is the kind of move meant to isolate, to separate, to make each opponent feel alone just long enough to die that way. Naruto refuses the premise. He throws his voice through clones, keeps calling out positions, keeps forcing sound into the fog, so Haku and Zabuza have a map built from him. It is reckless, loud, the exact opposite of proper Mist tactics. That is why it works. The battlefield was designed for disciplined killers. Naruto turns it into something messier, something harder to predict. Every clone he loses gives him one more angle. Every angle gives Haku one more line of attack. Then the next force hits. Jiraiya arrives like a verdict. He clears the tree line at speed, lands on a branch above the battlefield, and takes in the scene with one sweep of veteran eyes. Naruto, Zabuza, Haku, Kiri operative, Mist, bloodline signs. There is confusion in the equation, but not in his response. He chooses the immediate threat, the outsider, the hidden village enforcer trying to turn wave into an execution site. That choice matters. Because the moment a Sannin enters on your side, even temporarily, the political meaning of a fight changes. Kiri's clean retrieval becomes an international incident waiting to happen. The agent knows it too. His movements sharpen. He is no longer hunting. He is trying to finish the mission before witnesses become consequences. He goes for Haku again. This time, Naruto sees it coming fully, not just the strike, the logic behind it. Kill the bloodline holder. Break Zabuza. Recover the sword in the confusion. And the proof that Kiri is still hunting its own children beyond its shores. Naruto intercepts with a clone feint and a real body tackle that sends both him and the agent crashing through wet brush. Pain flares across his ribs. The masked shinobi rises first, blade descending in a clean execution line. Haku jumps between them. Ice catches steel. The impact screams through the clearing. For one impossible moment she holds. Then fractures race through the mirror-like shield in front of her, and Naruto sees the hidden cost of everything she has done tonight. She is fast, precise, powerful. She is also tired, emotionally gutted, and fighting for a future she still is not sure she deserves. The shield shatters. Zabuza reaches them before the killing blow can fall. Kubikiri Bocho takes the agent through the chest in one brutal, committed thrust. Not elegant, not pretty. Final. The masked shinobi staggers, laughter bubbling into a wet choke because madness hates dying most when it loses. Zabuza shoves him off the blade and watches him collapse into the mud like discarded doctrine. Silence follows in pieces. The mist thins. Rain starts at last, light at first, then steady. Jiraiya drops to the ground, eyes moving between Naruto and the pair from Kiri. He asks no casual questions, only the one that matters. Are they coming quietly, or does this become a bigger mess? Zabuza, breathing hard, gives the sword a glance and then gives Haku a longer one. That is the reveal that matters most now. Not what he planned, what he chooses when the plan has become expensive. He could still run, could still try to bargain, threaten, disappear into another war with another employer. Instead, he looks at Naruto and finally speaks without angle. The boy was useful. Then he became important to Haku. And somewhere along the way, that made him important to Zabuza too. Not lovable. Zabuza is not built for soft declarations, but important. Worth not breaking if another path exists. So Zabuza does the one thing his earlier self would have mocked. He surrenders the initiative. He tells Jiraiya they will go to Konoha under watch. He tells Naruto the sanctuary idea was real even if the method was rotten. He tells Haku, in the rough language of a man who has never been gentle on purpose, that she gets to choose what comes next. That is the final transformative turn. Because Haku has lived as weapon, refugee, accomplice, and bait. Now, for the first time, the future is handed back to her as a choice rather than an assignment. She cries without making a sound. Naruto steps closer, not to claim her, not to demand forgiveness for the lies or offer immediate absolution for them, but to stand where she can see him clearly. He tells her they are not done talking. He tells her trust does not mend in one night. He tells her Konoha is not a fairy tale and people there can still be cruel. Then he says he still wants to know the real her, the version with no mask and no mission attached. Tell me in the comments, would Naruto have walked away here if Haku had chosen silence instead of honesty? The question hangs for only a breath before the story answers itself. No, because this divergence was never really about a harem or a joke of fate in the woods. It was about one reckless decision on a lake changing the line between enemy and precious person. Naruto throws himself at danger to save Kakashi, and the shockwave of that choice keeps traveling. It reaches Haku in a tree. It reaches Zabuza in exile. It reaches Kirigakure's politics. It reaches all the way to this rain-soaked clearing where a girl born to be hunted is finally allowed to stop running for 1 second and imagine that home might be something she can walk toward instead. By dawn, the dead agent is sealed away as evidence. Wave is no longer just a failed C rank. Gatesu's games are finished the moment hidden villagers start stepping onto his island in person. Tazuna's bridge will go up under heavier protection and far uglier paperwork. Jiraiya will file a report that gives the Hokage a headache large enough to be felt across the land of fire. Kakashi will have 1,000 questions and at least half a lecture ready for Naruto before breakfast. But those are downstream consequences. What matters now is simpler. Naruto walks beside Haku as the storm breaks open into gray morning. Zabuza follows under guard, still dangerous, still wounded, still alive enough to be a problem later. Ahead is Konoha, suspicion, negotiation, a future none of them can guarantee, yet the timeline has already shifted. Because in this version, when the dark came for Haku, Naruto did not step back and let history repeat itself. He stepped in front of it.